Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are for Leaders Worldwide Toastmasters Club. I am Sally Reyes. I am part of Team Sergeant at Arms. And please take your phones out and turn them to silence. We don't want any interruptions for this next exciting 2 hours. And please help me welcome our president, Hala Ben Ahmed.
Thank you so much, Sally. Welcome everyone to this 105th meeting of Leaders Worldwide. And today it is all about something I've been told not to spoil the theme and wait for the Toastmaster of the day. So I won't. Instead, let me just open with just one memorable incident from my childhood. My first encounter with Western music was in 1990. Me and my mother went to the market in our home city of Quetta. It's a tiny city, and realized that before Spotify, there was no consistent way to access legal Western music in Pakistan. Nobody sold copyrighted music here for obvious reasons. So we asked the shopkeeper, because I had made it a mission to buy an English album. And we asked the shopkeeper, who is the current top selling hit artist? And he said, Madonna, of course. So we told him, okay, put the latest album on, let us sample it, and then we'll buy it. It was a soundtrack to her movie, I'm Breathless, Dick Tracy. And it opened with one of her biggest hits, Vogue. So he put that on, and me and my mother were instantly sold, and we said, pack it. And then we went home, put the cassette in. After the first song, the rest of the soundtrack consisted of the most pathetic pre-40s jazz, something, a mishmash of musical styles. And I'm sure if you've had the misfortune of hearing that soundtrack, you would maybe identify with me. But after that, it was our perception that in Western music and Western albums, only the first song is good. And after that, it's all downhill. But then, so that was my first encounter with jazz. And we may be great fans of jazz, but we can all agree that Madonna and jazz can never mix. So it is my pleasure and honor to welcome all of you to this meeting. So many guests today. It's such a wonderful and rich meeting, just like jazz itself. Oops, I did it again and spoiled the theme. Anyhow, you saw the agenda, right? It's not a great state secret. So we have so many guests. Let's start with my dear friend. And we had, okay, he has gone away. Okay, how about guest Lydia, if I'm pronouncing it correctly? Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Lydia Norman, and I am in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA.
All right, most welcome. Nice of you to join. Next, we have Mildred Sale. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm a member of Toastmasters up here in Edmonton, Alberta.
All right, all right. Thank you for joining us. Next, we have guest Claudia Powell. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon. My name is Claudia Powell. I am from Jamaica.
Wow. My goodness. So you all are putting the worldwide in Leaders Worldwide. Amazing. Next, we have Shauna K. Sterling Reader. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm so sorry about that. I am multitasking. My name is Shauna K. Sterling Reader. I'm the VPM for Jazzicera Toastmasters Club, which is in Jamaica.
Ah,
Wow. Welcome, welcome, Mr. VP membership. And next we have guest Varun Kumar. I believe he's a returning guest. Would you please confirm, sir?
Hi, Tala. Not a returning guest, but I am a member of Toastmasters since the last 7 years. And I am taking the group to a new level today. I am joining in from Spain, Barcelona, and also I am an area director for District 6.
Wow. From Barcelona, Spain. I so want to visit Barcelona one day and hopefully meet you there. Since you'll be hosting me. Anyhow, thank you so much for joining us. We have guests Tracy and Beckford. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, hello, hello. I am Tracy and Becky Love, and I am tuning in from Jamaica. I am currently Sergeant at Arms for the Jazzicera Toastmasters Club, and greetings to you all.
Thank you so much for joining us and putting the worldwide and leaders worldwide. And let me recognize and mention that putting the leaders and leaders worldwide is our District Director, Caroline Douglas, and our Finance Manager, Linda Patton, who is also one of the Division Directors. So we have the complete package. And now moving on to the meeting itself, I have my dear friend, who is someone who never ceases to impress whenever he speaks or whenever he writes. He is one of my clubmates at Quantum League Toastmasters Club. He is one of the deepest thinkers that I've encountered. It is hard to keep up with him, but somehow we manage. Everyone, please put your hands together for distinguished Toastmaster Sudarshan Seshadri. Over to you, Mr. PM Modi.
Thank you very much, and no pressure. Is that your motto, Tala? Every time you introduce me, you put me on the spot, and I seem to enjoy it. Thank you very much for that. Toastmasters, leaders from all over the world, and if there is any to-be Toastmaster which I didn't encounter, this is the right place for you. You can see something is playing on the screen. You can faintly hear the music as well. This is my introduction to what is jazz. A little backstory. I encountered this album completely by accident. I was out in the market near my house, and this music was being played in one of the old cassette shops, much like what Talha mentioned. And I happened to stand there and listen and got blown away by the music. I stood there for a good hour or more, and that, ladies and gentlemen, was my initiation to what is the music of life. I've chosen jazz as the theme for today, and this is a specific reason why I've chosen. The reason is that this music, much like all of us from all over the world, has evolved from people. The genesis has been from each and every one that struggled their way through slavery and came across to the other side to tell their tale. If I were to walk a little back and look at where it all started from, I'm sure a lot of you across the screens right now would have heard of Harriet Tubman, would have heard of the Underground Railroad, would have heard the struggles that were conveyed through music. And this music eventually evolved to encompass everyone and everything. In fact, our president gave me a beautiful lead-in because he said the first song in that album was what brought him in, and the rest was a mishmash. But guess what? Whether you call it paella from Spain, whether you call it jambalaya, whether you call it biryani, it is always a mishmash. And when the mishmash is presented properly, ladies and gentlemen, that is jazz. Let me see some jazz hands here. Jazz hands, please. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go on a roller coaster of a journey. this is a journey that will take us from way back in the 1930s and the beginning of jazz to what is jazz today and how it has evolved into a genre of music which in itself represents what life is all about. Life is never linear. Life is never straightforward. Nobody goes do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. You can go do, re, mi, sa, fa, mi. You can do whatever you feel like. And that's what jazz allows you to do. And every expression is absolutely fine. An example in Toastmasters, especially a worldwide club like this, we all speak the same language, which is English. Each and every one of us speaks it differently. My friends from Jamaica speak a different type of English. I'm from India. I speak a different type of English. Talha is from Pakistan. His pronunciation is very different to mine. Yet, we understand each other. We communicate with each other. And the barriers get broken the moment you fix that tag called Toastmaster before or after your name. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly how jazz works. And let's explore this magnificent musical journey all along. And today, because this is a Toastmasters meeting, we will have a structure. I've been told just before the start of the meeting that our general evaluator has been called away on an emergency. So I shall double hat. And toward the end of the meeting, I will present what I think was a synopsis of today's meeting. And obviously, because I am the TMOD, I am going to be very generous with myself and with all of you. So that's the way we will approach this meeting. Now, let me plunge into the agenda itself and let you know that there are some people that will be specifically assisting me in ensuring that today's meeting runs to plan and runs exactly like how a jazz ensemble runs, which means every instrument is going to be given its time, its space, and its chance to shine. So right now, the chance to shine is for our grammarian, and the grammarian for the day is Sally Elizabeth Reyes. Sally, could you please introduce your role and also the word of the day?
Thank you. I am the grammarian who is going to listen to all of your wonderful speeches and maybe draw attention to those words like so, if, and, oh, but that interfere with your communication expression and somehow seems to wash out. And if we can get used to looking at it, well, I did it 10 times. The second time you may do it 3. And pretty soon we'll all get rid of those unnecessary filler words. And I would like to say music is half my life. I think it's all my life. And our word of the day, which is most special to me, is rhythm. And rhythm is the pulse of our bodies, our lives, our world, and as well as music in our expression. So please, let's cover that world today. It's fantastic. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Wordmaster and Grammarian of the day. The word of the day is rhythm, as she's introduced it. Let's try and use it as many times as possible. The next role player that's going to ensure that the meeting not just runs to plan, but runs to time, which is even more important. And to do the honors, we have someone joining us all the way from Pakistan, where it is very much the witching hour, and he is going to keep track of time because he has to go to work tomorrow morning. So Toastmaster Imran Rana, could you please tell us quickly about your role and how you're going to ensure that we all stick to time?
Thank you so much. Please confirm I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay, fellow Toastmasters and guests, as a timer, my role is to make sure that the meeting proceedings are on time. I'll show 3 different colors at 3 different timings. If my virtual background turn into green, this means that the speaker has completed the minimum qualification, or he has completed to the minimum requirement. Then if the virtual background turn into yellow, this means that speaker should be a little bit vigilant, so that after that, if the virtual background turns into red, that this means that the speaker left with 30 seconds and he or she has to wrap up his or her speech. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Timer. That was a crisp introduction to what our timing is going to be. Ladies and gentlemen, the next turn that we take in our meeting is going to be what in jazz is usually known as breaking all the boundaries, because there is a framework, there is a pathway that we choose to follow. The pathway has a certain set of guidelines, but what does a prepared speaker do? Absorbs all of that and then comes and delivers a speech which is unique to themselves. And that is exactly what's going to transpire. We have not one, not two, not even three. We have 4 speakers today, and each of them is going to present a different flavor of public speaking. And what's even more interesting, as we do in all Toastmasters meetings, we have an evaluator who will take time, effort, and put in their energy to ensure that not just the speaker, but all of us benefit out of what they observed and they shared with us. So without wasting any time, let me call the first evaluator of the day.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I'm sorry, we have a last minute change because of a school pickup that needs to happen for Maya
Sure.
Catherine. Would it be possible to put our second speaker first and then have me evaluate her after that 1 minute of silence so that she can pick up her daughter from work, from school?
Absolutely fine. Absolutely fine.
Great, thank
Don't
you.
we improvise always in jazz?
Yes, thank you.
So go for it, DTM Cynthia. Please go ahead and
Okay.
explain Toastmaster Maya's speech objectives.
Great. So Maya is speaking from Presentation Mastery, and she's on level 2, her communication styles. So let me just get, sorry for my camera. Let me just get the objectives here. The purpose statement. The purpose of this project is for the member to learn about different communication styles and identify his or her style, primary style or secondary style. The purpose of this speech is for the member to share the impact of his or her style on others. During the completion of this project, the member responded to a questionnaire to help identify his or her communication style. The member will deliver a well-organized speech with some aspect of communication styles. The member may choose to speak about his or her communication style or the impact of communication on him or her. The speech may be humorous, informational, or any style the member chooses. The speech should not be a report on the content of understanding your communication style. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, the next speaker up on the stage is going to be Toastmaster Maya Catherine. To describe her in a few words, a lot of us have scars that we hide. A lot of us have scars that we are afraid of. She is someone who's embraced her scars. She is someone that knows what is the impact of a scar, and she helps each and every one that encounters her navigate their way through life, embracing their scars and being proud of who they are, because she enables emotional healing. And today she is here to share her thoughts with a speech which is titled, "You Didn't Break It, but You Have to Fix It." You didn't break it, but you have to fix it. Toastmaster Maya Catherine. Maya, the stage is all set for you.
Thank you. What is your communication style? Do you know? Well, according to the all-knowing, all-discerning, all-powerful, supreme Toastmaster software, my style is a mix of direct and analytical. I could have told you that from years of communicating and speaking and getting feedback from others. But I'm glad to know that me and the Supreme software are in agreement and came to the same conclusions. According to the results that I got from answering some of the questions this morning, that I was going through as I prepared to deliver this speech to you today, I learned that my style can be defined as analytical and direct. An analytical communication style is systematic and goal-oriented. As for direct style, it is result-oriented, focused, and confident. These results got me thinking about several of my communication engagements over the years, both verbal and in print. And I found myself looking for evidence of the analytical and direct style that seemed to describe how I communicated. What I found surprised me a bit, but was very enlightening at the same time. I specifically looked at my delivery of a topic which I spoke about many times here in our Leaders Worldwide Toastmasters Club, and as well as other places. It is a speech entitled, "You Didn't Break It, but You Have to Fix It," which centers around the importance and necessity of taking responsibility to repair our emotional health, even though we are not the one who caused ourselves emotional trauma or hardships that we went through in life. We did not break our hearts, but it is on us to fix it and to protect it going forward. I realized that when I communicated that message on mental health podcasts that I've been speaking on over the past year, I use more of what Toastmasters call a supportive communication style that is patient, cooperative, and sympathetic. When I spoke on a professional women's platform, my style was more analytical and direct, as I discussed earlier. As were the questions being posed to me, I easily adapted to the style of the interviewer, and my responses matched the atmosphere of the interview. When I had the privilege of speaking to freshmen and sophomore at two great universities recently, I used a style that Toastmasters called initiating communication style, in which I encourage the teens to speak up and share and participate in the talk as opposed to a lecture. At the end of a speech, it felt like a conversation between friends. And we actually had a great exchange that we had to cut short because I was a panelist at the event and I had to get my seat for the panel discussion to start with other community leaders. If you remember earlier, I said that looking back at my communication style surprised me a bit and was enlightening. Well, it is because I realized something very important. I realized that although my personality leans towards a certain way of communicating, in my case, analytical and direct, I was able to adapt my communication style to better deliver messages depending on the audience that I was dealing with. As was said in the Toastmasters training I actually did this morning, understanding your core communication style is more a way of learning about yourself and knowing yourself. And that enables you to adapt to different audiences when you're delivering communication. In the end, the most important thing, in my opinion, is to deliver a message in a way that your audience will get it and will feel they connect to. That, my friend, I feel is the ultimate communication goal, and that is my ultimate communication style goal. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, back to you.
Thank you very much. At this point in time, we'll observe a minute's silence so that our evaluator can collate her notes. So can I request the timer to give me a minute on the clock, please?
A minute of silence is over.
Thank you very much. As has been requested, the evaluator for speaker number 2, Maya, will be taking the stage now and delivering her evaluation. And I do not need to introduce this evaluator to the club, but I shall still do this. The first time I heard this lady speak, to say that I was blown away is an understatement. And since then, every time I've heard this lady speak, I've just been a little more in awe of Toastmaster Cynthia Stott. She comes in with a perspective which is unique, which is only hers, and I'm sure even today is going to be exactly the same. But just as I say all of that, I can see that she's disappeared from my screen. So I don't know how she's going to deliver her evaluation without being in the meeting. Let's give her 30 seconds to try and rejoin. If she doesn't, then we shall continue with the agenda and go back to the first speaker. Can someone give her a call and check if she's able to connect?
I'll do that.
Thank you. In the interest of time, let's go ahead with the agenda. Once she's back, we will have her evaluate Toastmaster Maya. Toastmaster Maya, is it okay with you? Will you be able to stay for a little longer? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time for our first speaker to come up on stage. But before I call our first speaker, I would like to request her evaluator, our president, DTM Talha bin Hamid, to take the stage and tell us the details of speaker number 1's speech. Toastmaster Talha, kindly unmute yourself and let us know the objectives of the speech.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the day. Today, the speaker will be speaking from the path, which is Visionary Communication, Level 2, Project 2, Understanding Your Communication Style. The objectives of the project are for the member to look at different communication styles and identify his or her primary style, and for the member to share the impact of his or her style on others. During the completion of this project, the member responded to a questionnaire to help identify his or her communication style. So it's supposed to be a well-organized speech. They may choose to speak in any style. The speech may be humorous, informational, or any style. The one thing it cannot be is a report on the content of the project itself. So over to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day. Oh, Cynthia
thank
is
you
back.
very much. Yeah.
I'm back. Sorry about
Okay.
that. I lost power, but I'm
No
back.
worries, no worries. Cynthia, since we've already introduced the speaker, let the speech get over, then you can evaluate immediately after that.
Okay.
Yeah, I've spoken
Thank
with Maya.
you.
She's okay with that as well. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
Great.
Sorry about that, Maya.
no problem. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, the next speaker up on stage is Toastmaster Kathleen Peel. To describe her, she says she reviews how to get the most out of any exchange, whether it is with colleagues, teams, friends, or family. And that's her objective. Her speech is titled, What's in Your Toolbox? What's in Your Toolbox? Toastmaster Kathleen Peel.
Thank you.
Sorry for the interruption. Actually, our timer just dropped out due to some power failure. He is connecting, but maybe if someone can evaluate this speech, someone can time this speech, it would be sincerely
I'll
appreciated.
take care of it. I'll take care of it.
All right. Thank you so much, DTM Sudarshan. So please raise your virtual hand, and Kathleen, I hope you can see Darshan's window.
Thank
Right.
you so much, Sudarshan.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yes, please, go for it.
Okay. Would you like to have even more effective communications with your colleagues and your teams? How about mutual understanding with your friends and family? Good communications makes the world go round. And it's actually possible and even easy to improve communications if we just take one little step. And that is get out of our head a little and see from a bigger picture. Freed from our smaller perspective, we can have access to our better nature. We can employ our understanding of communication styles as tools in our toolbox. Get in the rhythm and serve the benefit of all. Communication styles as tools in a toolbox, what's that? For 100 years, psychologists have sorted out what they call social styles into 4 main categories based on how humans process information differently, how our systems draw from innate resources and then manifest into communication styles that Toastmasters now presents to us. And there are 4. Analytical, let's call number 1 analytical, just randomly. The analytical style is careful about making decisions, communicates with consideration based on data and reason. This is the style of the bean counter and of the philosopher, depending on their perspective. They process all the possibilities and permutations of the available data, and the more data, the better. Choices are made through reason and logic, and ideals and consideration make these folks happy. Now, there's an upside and a downside to every human trait. And when the analytical is at a disadvantage, they lack the rich nuance of the emotional world. Now let's call number 2 the supportive style. This type is a sweetie pie. They're happy when you are happy. They take the time to connect. They desire to cater to your needs and make you feel good. That makes them feel good. Closeness makes them happy. Also, they themselves need time to make a connection. For the supportive, since there's an upside and a downside to every human trait, the painful end of their spectrum is to be emotionally demanding. Then there's the direct style. What matters here is results. Not comfortable with complicated emotions. These folks don't want to waste time circling around the point. Their gift is that they can make quick decisions, cut through wishful thinking, and at their best, they are stupendous problem solvers. On the downside, they can give a cold and bossy impression. In brief, the direct style is command central, bottom line practical wisdom. But do they see the bigger picture? That's for the initiation style. The initiative style is this is the life of the party, this guy. Exciting, with their finger on the pulse of life. At their best, they connect us to what makes us alive. They wake up our own talents, open new doors. And on the downside, they can appear reckless and impetuous and selfish. That's the 4 main types. And of course, we are not one-trick ponies, are we? And when we take a bigger perspective, we can employ different styles in different circumstances in service to the benefit of all. For instance, say I'm in a circumstance where direct, no-nonsense communication is needed. But if I'm working with a supportive type, I can actually delay my results if I'm too fast and abrupt. Sometimes I need to show that I actually care about the person. What a concept. Or if I want to open up a bigger vision to my audience, I'll use the initiative style. And this is my main style. Glittering concepts may be fun, but if I don't back them up with reasonable evidence, I will not only lose the analytical type, but I'll risk losing the credence of all of that part of everyone in my audience. And if I back up with reason, everyone's needs and understanding are better served. Speaking of bigger pictures, when you think about it, there's a kind of two-valence path of real thriving communication. When we first connect with our inner resources and talents, which makes us alive, and then we bring that forth into our world, that's what makes the world go round, that makes the music groove. To have fun and love and sustain ourselves and our family and our society with one hand reaching into our source, the other hand reaching into our world, that's the best satisfaction. See if you can use these styles to serve greater understanding. That's how jazz works. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Sorry for those garish images in the middle. Something went wrong with my camera, but luckily I was able to fix it. Hopefully you were able to see the timing cards clearly. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now take a minute's silence for the evaluator to collate his notes. Kindly give me, I will have to give myself a minute. Okay.
I'd like to request that I can take over the timing now, since my speech is over.
Yeah, please go ahead.
And meanwhile, let's wait if Imran can rejoin, he'll take over, all right?
Okay. Let me know when the minute's up.
Okay.
Thank
The
you.
minute is up.
Yeah. We are nothing if we don't improvise. And that's exactly what we've been doing all along in today's meeting. We are yet again improvising, but DTM Cynthia, you will not be hearing my introduction of you because the rest of them have already heard it and you've missed. But that doesn't take anything away. Let's hear the evaluation for our speaker, Toastmaster Maya Catherine from DTM Cynthia Stott. DTM Cynthia, the stage is all set for you.
And thank you, Imran, our Toastmaster, or Sudashan, our Toastmaster of the day. I did hear your introduction of me. It was wonderful. Thank you so much. Welcome, Toastmasters, guest, and especially Maya Catherine. I loved your speech. Your speech was supposed to be focused on communication styles, and you were supposed to tell us what your communication style or styles is based on the Toastmaster communication styles. And you did that. You started off with a great questions in the beginning, and also some humor and kind of playing with us that these are the styles of Toastmaster and these are what they are. And then what you did is you showed us how you have changed your communication style based on the audience and how that helped you to have the audience understand what you wanted to say. And you also remembered to include what you wanted to include. You had that sweet spot of the intersection between your message and the Toastmasters communication styles. And you let us know that you didn't break it, but you got to fix it, and how that relates to your audience. And it was beautiful, beautifully matched. I just thought it was a little bit short. I wanted more. I don't know if you took up your whole time. I didn't have a chance to look at the timer. But I think that you can bring elements of this into your international speech to challenge yourself. And the big challenge is that you only have so much time. You only have 7 minutes. But including just some tidbits from today's presentation that you gave on communication styles would really help, because a lot of cleaning up what we need to fix, you know, you didn't break it, but you got to fix it, is our communication styles and how we are perceived for the other person and how we are able to convey what we're feeling and thinking to the other person. So expectations is a large part of that. And I think you did a wonderful job including those in today's. So I don't see our timer. I think is my time up? Oh, it's green.
No,
okay.
no. Yeah.
Great. So so what I would like to see is just more, including more of this to enrich your already rich presentation of you didn't break it, but you've got to fix it. And one part of that fixing it is knowing your own communication styles and knowing other people's communication styles so you can match them. And I think that will make your presentation even more rich. So I'm looking forward to hearing your speech come out more and more rich. Thank you so much. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, I think a big round of applause to our evaluator. It takes some effort to evaluate a speech within a minute of the speech itself being delivered. Great job there. Thank you very much. Let's now move on to our speaker number 3.
Imran is here.
Sorry?
Imran is here.
Yeah, Imran is back. Yeah, I just noticed that.
Okay.
Welcome back, Toastmaster Imran. The third speaker is going to be introduced by our evaluator, Toastmaster Marlon Pireo. Marlon is so handsome that even his camera refuses to look at him, but we will definitely get to hear him. So Toastmaster Marlon, could you please share the objectives of Speaker Shompa Akhtar's speech?
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster of the meeting. And yes, I am so handsome that my camera refuses to work. But someone who is equally as beautiful is my good friend, Shompa Akhtar. She is going to attempt writing a speech with a defined purpose and delivering said speech. And without taking away anything from her, I will wish good luck to Toastmaster Shompa.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Marlon. Toastmasters, guests, leaders. Our next speaker is a fledgling Toastmaster who is new to leaders worldwide. She is legally blind and she is delivering a speech with a purpose, and the title is extremely interesting. Global Inclusion, the Power of Abilities with Disabilities. The Power of Abilities with Disabilities, Toastmaster Shompa Akhtar. Toastmaster Shompa, the stage is all set for you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Marlon has been a police officer for 22 years, 11 of which he has been completely blind. Most visually impaired people have at least partial vision. Until Marlon, I had never met a totally blind police officer. He commutes to work daily, taking 3 taxis to get to his office, where he trains other cops to do criminal analysis. Marlon absolutely loves his job and is more dedicated than most, as he wears his police badge with a pride. He has never seen his badge though. He can't. He is completely blind. Marlon is a content human being living with a disability in a third world country. He lives on the island of Trinidad in the Caribbean. He gives the best of himself every single day in service to his country's national security. Wouldn't it be amazing to have a qualified and dedicated employee like Marlon? Are you aware that most people with disabilities are as qualified, conscious, and dedicated as Marlon? Do you believe it's fair and a good business decision to hire people like Marlon? I wouldn't say grateful to be employed. I would rather make these businesses to be grateful to have such dedicated and qualified employee, not the other way around. With fair accommodations and support, employees with disabilities are ready and willing to give their all to your organization. Some of you might be thinking, I want a qualified and dependable employees like Marlon, but I don't know anything about disabilities. Things has changed. We now have 6 business liaisons in 6 different regions in the state of Oklahoma to guide you. I am Shimpa Akhtar. I represent the Oklahoma Department of Rehabilitation Services, which is DRS. I have a colleague named Vicky. I am going to open your eyes to what we can offer you in order to support your employees with disabilities so that you can have a whole bunch of Marlins. I'm going to use my colleague Vicky as an example here, even though she isn't here. Vicky and I are considered visually impaired, but we both have different abilities and needs in order to optimize in the workplace. You see, sometimes it is difficult to determine what one may need simply by knowing the fact that one person has a particular disability. It is almost impossible to cater your customers or employees with disabilities needs at its face value. For example, I much more prefer to receiving documents in accessible formats, where Vicky may just need the same document in large print. The needs of people with disabilities varies, but you don't have to worry. We can assist you with that. Let me ask you this. Do you include disabilities in your company's diversity, equity, and inclusion program? If I were you, I would consider it. Let's schedule an appointment
5 minutes.
and
5
talk
minutes.
about this more. Here is my folder. It has my business card with some brochures explaining what we can provide you and help you. We will support your company to compile with the Americans with Disabilities Act, also support you grow your business and attract great employees like our good friend Marlon. We can definitely assist you with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Shimpa.
Thank you. Thank
Something
you.
very, very important and very relevant to all of us. Let's take a minute to allow her evaluator to pen his notes down so that we can have a detailed evaluation at the end of it. Can I get a minute? I can see that Imran is again dropped off. So Talha, I guess you're doing the
Yes,
time.
yes.
Let me know when the minutes are.
Shimpa, yeah. And Shimpa's time was, by the way, 5 minutes and 40 seconds. One minute is over.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have our fourth speaker take the stage and talk to us about something that is extremely critical. But before I give the stage up to our fourth speaker, I would like to request her evaluator, District Director and Distinguished Toastmaster Carolyn Douglas, to take the stage and tell us the specific objectives of our speaker's speech.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. Sheena Walker is speaking today from Presentation Mastery Level 3, and her project is Prepare for an Interview. The purpose of this project is for Sheena to practice the skills that are needed to present herself well in an interview. And we will look for certain things as how poised and concise her answers are to the questions that are posed to her. And I would like to turn this back to our Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Carolyn Douglas. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have our fourth speaker, Toastmaster Sheena Walker, take the stage. To introduce her, all I can say is she is like the band leader of a jazz band. Not only does she need to perform well, she also needs to inspire everyone around her to perform well. And that's what she does in her day job as Director of Performance, inspiring executives to become experts in creating world-class programs in business and communication, therefore becoming better leaders in their industry. And she is going to share some very important tips. I don't know about the rest of you, I need it a lot. She's going to talk about how to get yourself recruited, or her specialist knowledge of recruitment. And her speech is going to focus on preparing for success in that career interview. Preparing for success in that career interview, Toastmaster Sheena Walker. Toastmaster Sheena, the stage is all set for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Fellow Toastmasters, going to share quite a sensitive topic, but hopefully you'll find it quite informative. Let me ask you, would you agree that speaking is the most profitable skill in the business world today? Why am I saying that? What that means is that you need to be able to stand up and deliver in a variety of settings in the business world. Indeed, global companies now are recruiting people that can speak really well. So why is that important? Well, I'd like you to think about, you and I, think about sales presentations, recruitment and selection interviews in the boardroom. You see, how can we do that unless we have specific training? And one thing I'd like you to take a wee note of that's really important during recruitment is you have to position yourself to be commercially viable, totally commercially viable. So who's recruitment and selection for? It's for you and me, for CEOs, business executives, sales professionals to be able to be positioned as that authority. There's been research by Dr. Michael Diardo in Los Angeles. He says that 77% of people find it difficult to stand up and communicate in recruitment and selection because they feel too anxious. Have you ever felt anxious during recruitment? Thought, I've got an interview tomorrow. What will I say? What will I do? Indeed, Nick Morgan of Forbes magazine, I was shocked at this, says that only 8% of people get training before a recruitment and selection interview. Can you imagine? I thought and had a smile this week and thought of you all when we had cricket with Pakistan and England. And I was thinking, what if they only had 8% training to go out and be world-class cricketers? Would they be very good? No, they would be pretty average. So why is it that people like you and I think we can present and get that great job with little practice? So I'd like to share with you how I've used this recently on international students at the university who were being tasked. The aim of this particular module was to be able to speak to camera so they could do a recruitment and selection interview on Skype or Zoom or with their iPhone. The biggest challenge they had is they spoke little English, didn't want to speak English in the auditorium, didn't want to speak English in a break. So I had to think very quickly on my feet that over 4 sessions, how was I going to make these international students brilliant, positioned as that expert? So the very first thing I did, going back to our cricketers, I thought, could I teach the students visual, verbally and manually how to do what they need to do in recruitment? So myself and the professor, very first thing we did a terrible interview between the two of us. She turned up in her dressing gown and her pajamas, spoke terrible and sat and fidgeted. And then we did a brilliant interview so that the students could pursue excellence. You too can pursue excellence if you listen to some of the things that we did. So role play, showing pursuing excellence. The second thing we did was we went over technologies, how they could use technology to have charisma and presence in the front of the camera, how they could use technology, how they could speak to people globally across the world with technology to be well presented, to use great communication, great voice, to pause, to pace what they did. But more importantly, when we move on to the third part, was how could they answer competency-based questions? What do I mean by that? What I mean is when we have a job description, we've got to look at, usually there's 9, how can we tell a recruiter that we've got evidence and we've researched the competencies required? So being able to do that on camera, that was the third thing we did. If you want to have the extra steps, I can send them to you. But the fourth thing, which is really important, is getting the students to think about their brand identity. What are they an expert in? Could they have deliverable outcomes? Do you think you're an expert when you go for a post? Do you think you're an expert when you're in the boardroom, when you're delivering a sales presentation? Do you position yourself as an expert? So the students were brilliant. They learned really well to have their brand identity, their profile with results, how they could deliver results, how they could be that authority globally for company, how they could lead the field, how they could turn that company into an employer of choice so that globally across the world, the company would be recognized for having great employees. At the beginning, I said to you, speaking is the most profitable skill in the business world today. Would you agree? I hope you would agree. And I'd just like to leave you with, I've heard it tonight, breaking the boundaries. Breaking the boundaries so that you've got a new way to work, so as you can stand out and lead the field. And I'll leave you with, become the greatest and perform at your finest in every recruitment and selection panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You've reminded me of what Alex Hales did for England in this World Cup. And thanks for bringing open the scars of what England did to India. Let's take a minute's silence now for her evaluator to make her notes. And for those of you that didn't understand the reference, meet me after the meeting. I shall explain what cricket is all about. Tala, you're on mute if you're saying something.
Yeah, I mean, England did this pretty much the same to Pakistan as well, just slightly less painful.
Let me know when the minute's up.
It is up.
Thank you very much. We've come to the conclusion of the first segment of our meeting. At this stage, before I call the break, I will request our timer to read out the timing of each of our 4 speakers, just so we know, did they stick to their allocated time or did they break the boundaries?
All right. So our first speaker spoke for 6 minutes and 40 seconds. About Kathleen, I need to get the data from Imran. So I've just put it in the chat box when I get it.
Kathleen was 6 minutes 48 seconds because I timed her.
Oh, all right. So that was 6 minutes and 48 seconds. So our third speaker was about 5 minutes and 40 seconds. And our fourth speaker was 6 minutes and 10 seconds.
Great. So I guess all of them have stayed within their 5 to 7 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, by my clock, it is 12:06 San Francisco time. Can we reassemble at 12:11? Let's take a 5-minute break. Go grab your coffees, grab your teas, maybe a croissant or so. Come back in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Or begins.
Welcome back. I intended to play some music in this break, but when there is an Indian and a Pakistani in the room and an English person to join, it is invariably going to be cricket, and cricket supersedes jazz. So thanks for that conversation. We now turn our attention to another aspect of public speaking. And this aspect of public speaking is something that we all encounter every single day of our lives. Some people call themselves not so good at it. Some people think they're extremely good at it. But trust me, when the pedal meets the metal, some of us will fall flat on our faces and some of us will stand there with a smile on our faces, irrespective. One of the days you will be called upon to speak. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, called table topics in our parlance in Toastmasters meeting. And to conduct this session, we have yet another district director, yet another distinguished Toastmaster to take charge and lead us through this particular session. I will now give the stage up to our table topics master for the day, DTM Linda Patton. Kindly take the stage and take charge of this session.
Thank you so very much. It is my pleasure today to be dealing with table topics around jazz. And I'd like to offer the ability to respond to a particular quote about jazz from any of our guests, as well as any of our members. But I'd like to start with our guests if possible. People like Mildred, or let's see, who else? Lydia, Tracy Ann, Claudia. Any one of you, would you like to take a look at one of my table topics? Don't all jump at once.
Mildred is raising her hand for you.
I'm sorry, who is?
Mildred Thiel.
Mildred.
Okay. She's
And Lydia too.
okay.
I think
Great. I need one more.
I think
Mildred and Lydia, and who might be the third?
We have another guest, Varun. If you're there in the room, maybe you could attempt.
and Lydia needs to leave soon, so I wonder if she could be first.
Of course. Mildred, you don't mind, do you?
No.
Okay. So let's spotlight. Hello. We just lost the spotlight. All right. Lydia, how are you? How's your knowledge of jazz? Is it pretty good?
I'm a musician, but country music more so than jazz.
Okay. Then here we go. Jazz is smooth and cool. Jazz is rage. Jazz flows like water. Jazz never seems to begin or end. Jazz isn't methodical, but jazz is messy. Jazz is conversation, a give and take. Jazz is connection and communication between music and the musician, and jazz is abandon. So with that quote, what would you have to say about jazz?
Thank you for that question. That quote, as you were reading it, I felt describes me completely. As a musician, we don't usually fit neatly into a box. We go through life with reckless abandon at times, even though some of us are in somewhat what you call left-brained occupations, such as I was. I spent 20 years as an accountant.
Yeah.
Jazz, wow. Jazz to me is something that just, it flows, it goes around however the musicians just, whatever feels, whatever comes into their hearts, their minds, their bodies, it just flows out. And I think that also describes me very well, because I'm also a neurodiverse person and I'm autistic. So I do tend to think of things from a different aspect. It's very much like jazz. I take little bits of things from one place or another and combine it all into this whole other aspect that makes me, me. So maybe I will actually add Lydia Jazz Norman to my name. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia, so much. That was a wonderful insight into who you are and the fact that you're a musician. By the way, what did you tell us what you play?
Actually, I am a singer,
Ah,
but I also am teaching myself 6-string guitar as well as bass guitar.
fantastic. So you might be able to play some jazz on those guitars, perhaps. What a beautiful way of looking at you, who you are, how you relate, and the music of jazz. Thank you so very much for sharing your diversity and your different aspects of how you relate to this particular music style. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then let's go to Mildred. Mildred, are you here? There you
I'm right
are.
here.
Good to see you. So Mildred, are you ready?
I guess I am.
Okay. So this is from Duke Ellington, and he says, jazz is the only unhampered, unhinged, and hindered expression of complete freedom, yet produced in this country. How do you feel about jazz? Is it a style that you like? Is it a style that you resonate with? And if not, where do you go for this kind of freedom in jazz?
Table Topics Master Linda, fellow Toastmasters and guests. You know, I kind of disagree with the quote because he said it's the only expression of unfettered freedom. And I would argue that that besides jazz, which I don't know that much about, dance is another and can be another unfettered expression of freedom. And I would draw your attention to the dance master, and I'd forgotten her name, which often happens to me because I'm in my 60s and that's what happens. I think it's something like Pia. And she managed to incorporate unfettered freedom and music and rhythm into her presentations, her beautiful dance motifs. And I never thought that I was a fan of modern dance until I saw the movie of this woman's work. And she would take her dancers through public places, on the subway, on the tramways, in the parks, dancing freely, expressing emotion. It was amazing. So I would say that I disagree with your quote in that regard. There are other ways of expressing unfetteredly emotion through art, not just jazz. But perhaps you could say that she brought jazz into dance. Back to you, Table Topics Master Linda.
Thank you so very much. That was a beautiful, beautiful speech. And in some respects, I would agree, but then again, my kids were jazz dancers. And so they were in that jazz world. And I do have to say that it was an unfettered and rhythmic way of working with the music. I love the fact that you had the ability to move away from jazz music and into the dance world itself. And I was trying while I was listening to you, just to see if I could find the woman that you were trying to speak about. And I will do that sometime before the end of the meeting, and I will report back to our audience. But beautifully done. And thank you for taking the other side of jazz. I certainly do agree that jazz dancers can be outrageously unfettered and beautifully danced. So thank you again so very, very much. And so for my third, no, I did Lydia. Did I have a third one? Who's my third one?
Not
No
yet.
one has volunteered.
I'm
If
sorry,
there
who?
is no one, I would like to take a topic because the topics are really interesting.
Ooh,
Oh,
okay.
there is Carolyn who's taking the topic. Go ahead, Carolyn.
Carolyn? Ms. Carolyn, are you taking one?
Carolyn, you're on mute.
I'm here.
Hello.
Hi.
Ooh, okay, let's see. What am I going to give you? Okay, well, this is a good one for you, Carolyn. It's short, but I think it's very, very powerful, and it is. That's the thing about jazz. It's free flowing because it comes from your soul. Carolyn, how would you respond to that?
How? Wow. Thank you for that particular one, because for me, it dovetails with Mildred's comments. I had the privilege on October the 9th to introduce a jazz musician over in San Francisco doing a festival. And my responsibility was to explain a little bit about what that jazz is. And he had his jazz band with him, which include the trumpeters, the bass players, the clarinetists, the saxophonists, and they were playing all one song, but each one got the opportunity to do it their way in such a beautiful expression that had a wonderful theme of a melody, but it all fit together in oneness. There wasn't a person in the room who did not know what that melody was, but each one of the players did their thing, and it was freedom for each one in their expression. Back to you. That's what jazz is to me.
Oh, Carolyn, you are so erudite, and you always have just the right thing to say about the topic, and or just the right experience to fit with the table topic. I so agree that it really does bring the soul out, and no matter where you are, when you have a jazz band of one sort or another, they bring out the emotion from everyone in the audience. And to be honest with you, everyone has a great time. And if you've got dance going on with it as well, oh, it is just amazing. So with that, Toastmaster, I would like to turn it back to you and say thank you to these marvelous women for their insights into jazz and dance.
Thank you so much, Table Topics Master. First of all, for embracing the topic and coming up with questions which were extremely thought-provoking, and I can speak for a couple of hours on each of those questions. So good that you didn't give me a chance to speak. Thank you so much for that. Let's now turn our attention to something that is anathema to most jazz musicians, which is somebody coming and telling them how they can be better. But guess what? In their own unique ways, each jazz musician wants that feedback and receives it with warmth and with an open heart, because that's the only way they know they're going to improve. And that's exactly what we're going to do in our evaluation segment. And without further ado, the first evaluator to take the stage is going to be that bearded gentleman on the top right-hand corner of my screen, who is your president and my friend DTM Talha bin Hamid, all the way from Pakistan, to evaluate our speaker number one. DTM Talha, please take the stage and deliver your evaluation.
Tola, can I step in for just a minute? The woman who
Sure.
was the mother of modern dance was Isadora Duncan.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good recall. Thanks.
All right.
Hello, you're on mute.
Thank you. Am I
Okay.
audible now?
Mm,
Am I audible?
You're audible.
Yes, yes, you're fine now.
All right, all right, all right. Thank you so much, PMOD/General Evaluator. Kathleen, this is absolutely unfair. There is so much to unpack in your speech and so little time, but I'll try to do my best. First of all, let me tell you that congratulations on meeting the objectives with flying colors. This is one of the best presentations that I've heard on communication style. And you had competition right within this meeting, but you aced your project. You had a very absorbing start. You used the word of the day and you said, get in the rhythm, which really grabbed the attention and really got us into the spirit of the meeting and the theme and your project. You had a great concept about toolbox. Your titles are always very absorbing, and I always say that a title is something that allows you to start communicating even before you say a word. So what's in your toolbox? Right away, it clicks. That's all the communication styles are tools, and you can pick and choose. You can pick the iron, you can pick the wood, you can pick the butter based on the situation. You were animated and enthusiastic with very expressive gestures, which was only fitting because the project was about communication styles. You summarize each communication style with a philosophical sentence. For example, analytical contrast between bean counter and philosopher, supporting the painful end of the emotional spectrum, direct, not comfortable with painful emotions, and initiation, fingers on the pulse of life. How good that is. Then you concluded that we are not one-trick ponies, and you had a peppering of humor in your speech as well. You had a great matching of styles with mannerisms, and when you spoke about a style, you became that person. You became a heartless analyst. You became a peppy, direct communicator. You became a sympathetic supporting communicator, and you became an initiating communicator. So brilliant job with that. Just a few improvement areas. During the first half of your speech, you seemed uncharacteristically hesitant at places. There were too many pauses, but it disappeared after the first 2 minutes as you got into the rhythm. Then you had mostly a single posture during the speech, which was slightly offset like this. Maybe you could work on improving that. So overall, your speech was amazing. You met the project objectives spectacularly. You clearly worked hard on playing the roles of all the communicators. You demonstrated what they were like. Only a little more consistency in flow during the first 2 minutes would have catapulted this speech to a contest level speech. Thank you so much. Congratulations on enlightening us on the communication styles and meeting your project objectives. Over to you, General Evaluator, 3 minutes and 27 seconds.
Thank you very much. And apologies for the confusion. I was still in the table topics mode. So I was also trying to show timing cards and must have confused you. Sorry about that. Let's move on to our next evaluator, which is handsome Marlon Pareo, evaluating Toastmaster Shumpa.
Thank you very much. Participants 17. Thank you very much, sir. And I'm pretty sure when you said handsome Marlon, a number of my coworkers' eyes just rolled in annoyance, but I don't care. Toastmaster Shumpa, you have done us a great service by explaining to all and sundry everything that relates to what you do, why you do it, and why it's important. You outlined in very great detail what happens when it comes to a person with a disability within the workplace, when it comes to rights, but also what the individual with disability can do for the company. Now, here's the thing. You outline a number of facts, which is wonderful, but I would like to hear some vocal variety I would like to hear some oomph, some chutzpah, because you're doing your speech with purpose. You are trying to convince your audience towards a particular set of, towards your idea per se, yes, towards your general idea. So whilst your speech was wonderful, I want you to elevate it to be powerful. Think about the power of three and the rhythm of how you say the things. Like, for example, there was a part where you had mentioned, yes, we do that. So what you can do is that you can emphasize that, yes, we do that. So they'll know, oh, yes, they really do that, and so on. When you're giving stories, you want to be able to say it in a story-like way, because you're animating what you're saying. You want to pull people in to what you're saying. You want to pull them in, right? So at the end of the day, as I said, your speech was wonderful. What I want you to do is now take it from wonderful to powerful. And I'm guessing that as you go forward, challenge yourself to not rely on so many notes and start relying on the memories of your stories. Mr. General Evaluator.
2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Marlon, for that detailed evaluation. Let's move on to our fourth evaluator, DTM Carolyn Douglas, to deliver her evaluation. DTM Carolyn, the stage is all set for you.
Thank you, General Evaluator. Fellow Toastmasters, and especially Sheena, thank you so much for your speech, preparing for success in that career interview. I just want to remind everyone what the purpose of this speech was. It was for the member to practice the skills needed to present herself well in an interview. What we experienced was a speech of what the speaker would do or has done to assist a client who is preparing for an interview. So Sheena, I want to just put this out first and foremost. You are a well-developed speaker with great skill, and your presentation really demonstrated that. You were very clear in the information that you were sharing. So I want you to know that the feedback that I'm giving you is to the level where you are as a public speaker. Well prepared. Your speech was well organized. It had the opening, it had extremely good content filled with examples of what you share with your clients. And I love the example that you gave, and how what you identify is that sometimes your client, an international person, is desirous of a position, but they think that it's not necessary to have their languaging as it should be. They prefer to do it in their language instead of English. But the point is, you provided some really good examples of the skills that you tell your client that they need to focus on to be prepared for the interview. I was impressed with the information where you identified that only about 8% prepare before the interview. Oh, and I liked how you shared how to show competency on the camera. So your talk, your speech was filled with that kind of information. What is it that I would like for you to consider for next time? And I am asking that you consider doing this again. This was to be a role play between you and an interviewer, where the interviewer interviewed you. You provided the questions and you demonstrated those skills yourself. So please consider doing this again as a role play. Once again, I want to acknowledge your expertise and how well the speech you delivered was delivered and given. I'd like to see you do the project as the project was designed. Back to you, evaluator.
Thank you very
General
much.
evaluator.
Thank you very much. Thanks for those extremely important suggestions for our speaker. I'm sure she's going to benefit from that. At this stage, I would like to request our timer to share his timing report for the 4 evaluators.
Thank you so much, General Evaluator. I took 3 minutes and 27 seconds. DTM Cynthia in her evaluation took 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Marlon took exactly 2 minutes, and Carolyn took 3 minutes and 12 seconds. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, now I'm going to change my hat and wear the hat of a general evaluator and talk to you all about how this meeting went. So to begin with, how does a jazz band form? A jazz band is formed by a bunch of, yes.
Should Sally not have given her report?
Yeah, I will take her report. I will take her report. I'm
Okay.
aware of that. Yep.
Okay.
So like I was saying, a jazz band forms when a bunch of motivated musicians come together from various different parts of town or city or even a country and form a group and they jam together. When they jam together, the rhythm that they create sometimes is cacophonous, sometimes is mellifluous, and sometimes is everything in between. Exactly the way a Toastmasters meeting gets conceived of, gets constructed, and eventually gets delivered. So as I said in the beginning, this role that I am playing as a Toastmaster of the day, doubling up also as a general evaluator, I was assisted by various people. So you've seen DTM Talha in action. And now I would like to request our grammarian and wordmaster of the day, Toastmaster Sally Reyes, to come and present her grammarian's report before I deliver my general evaluation.
Thank you so much. This was an exciting deliberation and very good teaching methods, listening to all their styles. Thank you. And Tala used the word of the day, which is rhythm, twice. Maya once, Kathleen once, Marlon once, Sumpa once, I think. Linda once, Mildred once, and Carolyn once. And now I want to make a comment on interesting words. Kathleen Permeator, I think. I couldn't quite spell all the parts of it, but it was kind of hidden and interesting. And Sheena Still, wonderful word. Isadora Duncan is a word in herself, which sets off excitement in music and dance. Sudan Shan, cacophony, my favorite word. And Linda, left-brained. I think we ought to refer to that it's just an interesting thought of how we actually think with one side or the other. And Mildred had used the word once, and dance. I can't remember what I was going to write. Okay, and Shauna, commercially viable, good expression. And the essence of dance by Kathleen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was comprehensive, to say the least. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, now it is my turn to deliver the general evaluation. And all I can say is, like an ensemble, we came together, we struggled initially, there was no rhythm, then there was some semblance of rhythm, and eventually it was a mellifluous orchestra. And that's exactly how life is. Life is not linear. Life is linear only once, when you're on the shoulders of 4 people taking you to your grave. At all other times, life is moving up and down in a sinusoidal way. And that's exactly what happened with our meeting. We had our timer come in, drop off. We had a general evaluator have an emergency. We had a speaker who wanted to leave early. All of it added to the music. It was chaos in action. And what is life if it isn't chaos? And that's exactly how a Toastmasters meeting is expected to be. And none of you probably have gone to an Indian wedding. An Indian wedding is exactly like this. Oh yes, Maya seems to have been to an Indian wedding. Our weddings are exactly like this. And the role that I am playing is played by an old lady who's sitting in the corner, having a problem with everything in life. There is less salt in the food, the bride is too garishly dressed, the groom is not dressed enough, etc. But the marriage itself was great. And exactly that way, the meeting itself ultimately was something of a success. And I'm not saying that because I was invited to be a Toastmaster of the day. The fact is that every single speech had so much value. Whether it met the objective or not is for another discussion. But in terms of the richness of content, I think the name Leaders Worldwide was epitomized in the way the speakers prepared and delivered their speeches. The role players taking their role seriously enough, yet being irreverent to allow for last minute changes. That is what leadership is. Show me a leader who's not confronted uncertainty, and I shall show you a cover, because that is what leadership is. You get confronted with a situation, you take it head on with a smile if you can. The other side of it is something impressive, something that you cherish, something that you want to look back upon and say, I was there when that happened. And I'm proud to say that at 1 a.m. in the morning in Dubai, with a workday beckoning me tomorrow morning, I am happy that I was here. I know my wife is extremely irritated right now in the other room saying, why is this man shouting so much? But the fact is, I'm enjoying myself. And as I wind up this meeting and before I hand over the stage back to our president, the only thing I would like to say is Aretha Franklin sang R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Jazz is all about respect. It is respecting yourself more than anything else. If you begin by respecting the man or the woman in the mirror, the rest of it falls in place by itself. As Maya spoke, if you take that scar that has been left on you and wear it proudly as a medal around your neck, but be humble enough to say that I deserve that scar, but never again will I let it happen to me. If you do that, ladies and gentlemen, you shall all be great jazz singers. Whether you like jazz, you don't like jazz, whether you understand jazz, you don't understand jazz. Jazz is one of the 6th element of the 5 elements of life. Earth, wind, fire, and water are the 5 primal elements. Jazz is the 6th because it creeps upon you when you don't expect it. It envelops you and it leaves you in its thrall always, every time. So after this meeting, if you have the time and the inclination, put on some Aretha Franklin, put on some Ella Fitzgerald, put on some Duke Ellington, put on some John Coltrane or Thelonious Monk, and just let the music get you. The rhythm will get you. That's what Gloria Estefan sang, and I firmly believe the rhythm always gets you. If you like it, you don't like it, doesn't matter. The rhythm will get your feet tapping, your shoulders moving, and eventually you out of your seat and becoming that leader that you deserve to be. Thank you for having me as your Toastmaster of the day. It was indeed a privilege. I hand the stage back to our president to conclude the meeting.
Thank you so much, VP Sudarshan. And I'll hand the stage right to our VP Education, Kathleen Hill, who has some important business to get through. Over to you, Kathleen.
Thank you, President Talha. And let's make this quick and easy. What I'm asking is for enlistments for our upcoming meeting. That will be on the 28th of November Pacific time at the same time slot as we are engaged with now. And we have one speaker so far who is Maya, and all the rest of the roles are ready for your delectation. So we have speakers, we have Toastmaster of the day, we have, or of the meeting, We have evaluators for timer, table topics, grammarian. And so, hi, Sally.
Hello.
I'll take grammarian.
Marion is my favorite this month.
All right. You're in like Flynn. Thank you. And I love your rhythmic performance.
Merci.
De rien. And Talha.
Yeah, if there's a speaking slot, I would like to take it. And plus
Excellent.
any other role that you need to give to me at the last moment, I'm open to that.
Thank you so much, Talha. I will take you up on that. You improviser, you. And Linda, what would you like to do? We have Toastmaster, we have an evaluator or timer.
Oh, God, I haven't played Toastmaster of the Day for a long time. Let's do that.
All right,
I had my
wonderful.
hand up because
Oh,
Teresa actually volunteered to be Toastmaster, but she volunteered in the breakout room if we have one. I don't think we're going to have one because Kathleen, you didn't want to put those together. So, but
Well,
so
they are
maybe
there if you want it. It's up to you.
it's
What-
up to
what
our
do you want?
people if they want to speak. Yeah. But Teresa did put her hand up to be table topics master. So maybe you two can figure it out, Linda.
Teresa
Cynthia,
Cherry.
did you want to be Toastmaster of the Day or did you want to be Table Topics Master?
Toastmaster. She said Toastmaster. She would volunteered in the breakout room ahead of time a few days ago, but Toastmaster.
Okay.
She was-
Kathleen, put me wherever you want me. It'll be fine.
Work it out. Yeah.
No, there's nothing to work out, Cynthia.
Okay.
What you want.
Well, she actually
That
volunteered
is-
for a breakout room, and I
hear
don't know
you.
if we're going to have a breakout room.
I hear you, Cynthia.
So that is improvisation. And back to the rhythm. Let's see, Cassandra. Cassandra, are you still here? Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Cassandra. Would you like to take a role? Would you like to do table topics, for instance? Or we have Lydia.
Nobody's there excited anymore.
I guess Lydia is not on the call now.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think so. And if she's brand new, so she'd be giving speeches so she can get qualified for the contest instead of roles.
righty.
How many speakers do we have that day? We have Tala and how
Well, we
many?
just have two at the moment. We have
Two,
Maya
okay.
and Talha, and then Marlon. Marlon, would you care to do, we need evaluators or a speaker?
You currently
right.
unmuted. Actions
What
available.
was the question? To be a what or what?
Would you care to offer us your one genius talents, either as a speaker or as an evaluator?
Well, you can flip a coin and whatever. I'll do that.
Okay, well, we do need evaluators and you're an excellent one. I'll ask you to,
I can do both.
if it's equal to you, I'll ask you to be an evaluator.
Well, in my country, we are very we usually do both sometimes, you know, so it's not really a big issue for me.
Thank you, Marlon. Okay, so Shumpa is not here. And I think I've asked all of our members for,
You haven't asked Carolyn, I believe.
Carolyn, yes, I think of you as being so busy. Would you kindly come and
What?
Are you, okay, if you're coming, you could do table topics, you could do timer, you could speak, or you could evaluate.
I can speak.
Excellent.
And
Thank
what date
you.
is that?
This is the 28th of
All
November
right.
at the same time slot.
Cool.
I can do table topics, Kathleen.
Thank you, my dear.
And I could also speak if you're short. of a
Thank you
speech.
kindly. I'll be in touch with you. I think we're going to be good, but thank you very much for your offer. And I have you in as table topics master. Shumpa, there you are. And would you,
Yeah,
you-
I won't be available that day because I have a doctor appointment that day.
okay.
I wish
Okay.
I could.
Well, we're happy to have you whenever we can get you.
Thank you.
And you can come in and riff with us whenever you want. Okay, that is my business end of the meeting, and I will return it back to our president.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Kathleen, and thank you so much, our members, for making Kathleen the happiest person on the planet right now. Because trust me, there is no person happier than a VP Education who has her agenda sorted 2 weeks in advance. Unheard of. Congratulations. So, moving on. Now, instead of giving away food, we just have 6 minutes to go. What I'm offering today is a live concert by your favorite musician in return for your comments. A live concert by your favorite musician.
A live concert. Sponsored
By your favorite
by the
musician.
And all
Yeah.
you want is our comments?
Yeah, what did you take away from the meeting? Starting from you, DTM president.
Oh, I've taken away a bag full of things. Every single speaker, like I said, had something unique to offer. In fact, I would want to explore a lot of what they said with them, if possible, at some other point in time. I particularly enjoyed our grammarian, the way she analyzed the meeting and the way she recorded what was happening is something that I shall try and emulate whenever I'm called upon to be a grammarian. Overall, I think the name Leaders Worldwide has been done justice to because every role player behaved like a leader. And that is important. When you call yourself something as a club, you walk the damn talk. If you can't, then you shouldn't call yourself that, right? So I thought everyone was a true example of what a leader should be. Where are my
Bravo.
tickets?
So, yeah, but first you have to tell us who you want to witness in concert.
Oh, well, the ones that I want to witness are no longer with us. So if you can
come
just
on.
send me an LP.
We can
of-
arrange them. We can arrange them.
Can you bring back
Yeah.
John Lennon for me? Please do so.
All right.
Can you bring back Marvin Gaye?
Oh, please,
Oh,
get
wow.
Marvin Gaye back. I'll be in the
Oh,
front
wow.
row.
Well, it's about 2 a.m. here, so it's a perfect time for me to hold a CMs after this meeting. So yeah, they're frequent visitors. So yeah, maybe I can convince them. Keep your hopes alive, people. So next we have our guest, Mildred. Madam, would you like to share with us what are you taking away from the meeting?
This is the first meeting that I've attended that was this long, because I normally, I start a meeting at the same time every day, and or as this meeting today on Tuesdays, and
Wow.
this is the first time that I've been to a regular kind of long meeting at this time of the day. So I found it very interesting. I'm tired because I only have so much energy, so I'm resting now. But I very much enjoyed it. A couple things that I noticed though is I noticed that you made agenda choices kind of on the fly. One thing that our club does is we just add it to the agenda that you make. Are there any agenda changes right at the beginning of the meeting, right after opening remarks by the Toastmaster? And then it tends to smooth things out a little bit because there were some agenda changes. So that was one, one thing I noticed. The other thing I noticed is that there were no table topics evaluator. And that surprised me. But anyway, I enjoyed my table topic and I enjoyed I enjoyed the whole meeting. It was very good all around. I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you so much. And who would like to who you would like to see in concert?
Oh my goodness. I mean, some of the people that were named already, definitely. There was the blind black pianist whose name I can't remember
Ray
names
Charles.
again.
Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, Ray Charles.
Wonder.
Ray,
All right.
no, it would be Ray
Charles.
Ray Charles
Yeah.
is the one I would like to
Right.
see back. He was amazing. I really liked him.
Oh yes, he was.
Wow, that's amazing. So thank you so much. And yes, there are some clubs that do have table topics evaluation, but it's not exactly a mandatory role. The Toastmasters keeps it as one of the optional roles. So with that, no, actually they are part of Toastmasters International because they were part of the CL manual as well, but they're not mandatory. So yeah, they were part of CL manual. If you check. The table
No,
topics
they are not.
evaluation.
I'll prove it to you offline. Let's have a battle of the duel. The Toastmaster
All right.
evaluators.
It just surprised me. I didn't say there was anything wrong with it. I was just surprised.
Yeah.
But that's
All
not
right,
approved by Toastmasters International. That's why.
All right, we
How
have.
Before we go,
Yeah.
I would like to ask Cassandra, who was not available when I was calling for role players. Cassandra, would you care to give us an evaluation in our next meeting 2 weeks from now on the 28th of November?
I'll take that offline. I'll take that offline with you.
Great.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So it turns out that we are out of time. So with that, we bring this meeting to a close with the heartiest note of thanks to our guests, Toastmaster of the Day, DTM Sudarshan, and all the other role players and the speakers, and the wonderful galaxy of guests that we had today. So thank you so much, everyone, and see you all in approximately a week's time. To be precise, a week and maybe 6 hours or 5 hours, something like that, because that's when the next Leaders Worldwide meeting will take place. So thank you so much, everyone, and see you all very soon.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much.